Have you ever noticed how some people seem completely at ease, even in silence, while your mind keeps moving, commenting, questioning, replaying everything? It's as if no matter where you go, that voice follows you, telling you what you should have said, what might go wrong, what others might think. And even when nothing is happening, it continues. But what if that voice is not actually you? What if the reason it never stops is because you've never been shown how to step out of it? In Buddhist wisdom, the key is not to fight the mind, but to understand where your attention lives. And when you begin to see this clearly, something unexpected happens. The voice begins to fade on its own. In the next few minutes, you'll begin to understand what that means and why learning to live in the present changes everything. 1. The hidden habit of living everywhere but now. Most people don't realize how rarely they are actually present. You may be walking, eating, listening, but internally you are somewhere else, thinking about what just happened, imagining what could happen next, replaying words, planning responses, predicting outcomes. The body is here, but the mind is always moving, and the voice in your head thrives in that movement. It needs time that is not real. It needs past and future to exist. Without them, it has nothing to talk about, because right now, in this exact moment, there is nothing to solve, nothing to fix, nothing to analyze. There is only experience. But the mind is not designed to rest in simple experience. It is designed to anticipate, to compare, to protect. And so it pulls you away from what is happening into what might happen. This becomes a habit so subtle you stop noticing it. You begin to believe that thinking is necessary at all times, that you must stay mentally active to stay safe, to stay prepared, to stay in control. And because of that belief, the voice is never given a reason to quiet down. It continues, not because it has to, but because it has learned that you are always listening. Buddhist teachings describe this as a form of unconscious living, not because you are unaware of your thoughts, but because you are completely identified with them. Wherever the mind goes, you follow, and over time, this creates a distance between you and your actual life. Moments pass without being fully lived. Conversations happen without being fully heard. Even rest feels incomplete because the mind never stops moving. But something important becomes clear when you begin to observe this pattern. The voice is not constant because life demands it. It is constant because attention feeds it. And the more your attention stays in the past and future, the louder it becomes. So the question is not how to stop the voice. The question is, where are you placing your attention? Because that is where your experience of life is created. 2. Why the mind resists the present moment. If being present brings silence, then why does the mind resist it so strongly? At first it seems strange. You would think the mind would prefer peace over noise, stillness over constant activity. But in reality, the mind is not seeking peace, it is seeking certainty, and the present moment offers none. Right now, without adding thoughts, life is simple. It is open, undefined, and constantly changing. There is nothing to hold on to, nothing to predict, nothing to control. And for the mind, that feels uncomfortable. So it creates a sense of control through thinking. It replays the past to understand what happened. It imagines the future to prepare for what might happen. It fills the space with commentary, so you never have to face the unknown directly. This is why the voice feels so persistent. It is not random, it is structured around a single intention: to reduce uncertainty. But there is a quiet truth that Buddhist teachings point to again and again. The need for certainty is what creates suffering, because life does not become stable just because you think about it more. The future does not become safer because you imagine every possible outcome, and the past does not change no matter how many times you replay it. Yet the mind continues, believing that more thinking will eventually lead to peace, and this is where the pattern becomes exhausting. You're trying to solve something that cannot be solved through thought. The present moment, on the other hand, does not need to be solved. It does not ask you to predict or analyze. It simply invites you to experience, to see, to hear, to feel, without adding a story on top of it. But to the thinking mind, this feels like losing control, so it resists. It creates distractions. It pulls your attention back into thinking. It tells you that staying present is unproductive, unrealistic, or even unsafe. And most of the time, you believe it. Not because it is true, but because the voice has been guiding your attention for so long. But once you begin to see this clearly, something shifts. You realize that the resistance you feel is not a sign that presence is wrong. It is a sign that the mind is losing its familiar hold over you. 3. The moment you realize you are not the voice. There is a quiet turning point that changes everything. It does not come from forcing the mind to be silent. It does not come from controlling your thoughts. It comes from seeing something simple but deeply transformative. You begin to notice the voice, not just hear it, but observe it. At first, this may seem like a small difference, but it is not. Because the moment you observe the voice, you are no longer inside it. You are no longer carried by every thought it produces. Instead, there is a subtle distance. The voice speaks, and something in you listens. This is the beginning of awareness, and this awareness is not another thought. It is not another voice. It is quiet, steady, and always present. It does not comment. It does not judge. It simply notices. In Buddhist practice, this is often described as the witnessing mind, the part of you that remains unchanged no matter what thoughts appear. And when you begin to rest in this awareness, even briefly, something becomes clear. The voice is not who you are. It is something you experience, just like a sound or a sensation or a passing emotion. But because it has been constant for so long, you have mistaken it for your identity. You have believed that every thought reflects something real about you, that every worry is important, that every judgment deserves attention. But when you step back and observe, you begin to see the pattern. Thoughts arise on their own. They change constantly. They often contradict each other, and yet the awareness that notices them remains the same. This realization does not silence the voice immediately, but it changes your relationship to it. Instead of being pulled into every thought, you begin to watch them come and go. And in that space between you and the voice, something unexpected appears. Stillness, not forced, not created, just revealed. And for the first time, you begin to understand. Silence was never something you had to build. It was something that was already there, underneath the noise. 4. Returning to the present without force. When people first hear about living in the present moment, they often misunderstand it. They think it means forcing the mind to be quiet. They think it requires pushing thoughts away or trying to hold on to a perfect state of calm. But this approach only creates more tension and more noise. Because the moment you try to control the mind, you are already back inside it. The voice becomes stronger when it feels resisted. It finds new ways to pull your attention, new arguments, new distractions, and the more you fight it, the more it seems to grow. Buddhist wisdom offers a different approach. Instead of trying to stop the voice, you begin by gently returning your attention to what is real, not with effort, not with pressure, but with simple awareness. You notice your breath, the natural rhythm of it. You notice the feeling of your body, sitting, standing, moving. You notice sounds around you, without naming or analyzing them. This is not a technique to escape the voice. It is a way of reconnecting with direct experience, and something subtle begins to happen when you do this. The voice may still be there, but it no longer feels central. It becomes like background noise, something that comes and goes without demanding your full attention. You are no longer trying to silence it. You are simply no longer feeding it. This shift is important because the present moment is not something you have to create. It is always here. What changes is where your attention rests. Each time you notice that your mind has drifted into thinking and you gently bring it back, you are strengthening your ability to stay present, not perfectly, but gradually. And over time, this becomes more natural. You begin to catch the voice earlier. You begin to feel when you are being pulled away, and instead of following every thought, you return again and again to what is actually here. There is no need for frustration when the mind wanders. Wandering is what the mind does. The practice is in the returning, and in that returning, something soft and steady begins to grow. A quiet sense of being here, without needing anything to be different. 5. The space between thoughts. If you pay close attention, you may begin to notice something that was always there but rarely seen. Between one thought and the next, there is a small gap. At first, it feels almost impossible to detect. Thoughts seem continuous, like an endless stream. But when awareness becomes more steady, these gaps begin to reveal themselves. A moment of silence, a pause without words, a brief stillness before the next thought appears. This space is important because it shows you something the mind does not want you to notice. Thoughts are not constant. They arise and they pass. And what remains in between them is not emptiness in the way you might imagine. It is not a void or a lack. It is a quiet presence. In Buddhist understanding, this is often described as the natural state of mind. Not something you create, but something that is revealed when the noise settles, even for a moment. The voice in your head depends on continuity. It creates the feeling that thinking never stops, that there is always something to follow, something to engage with. But when you begin to notice the gaps, that illusion starts to weaken. You realize that silence is already part of your experience. It is not something distant or difficult to reach. It is already here, appearing again and again, in between the thoughts. And the more you rest your attention in these small moments of stillness, the more they begin to expand. Not because you are forcing them to grow, but because you are no longer overlooking them. This changes your relationship with the voice in a very subtle way. Instead of feeling trapped inside a continuous stream of thinking, you begin to feel space around it. Thoughts still arise, but they do not feel as heavy. They do not carry the same urgency. They do not pull you as deeply as before. And over time, something becomes clear. The silence you are looking for is not the absence of thought. It is the presence of awareness, in which thoughts come and go. You are not trying to eliminate the voice. You are discovering that it was never the only thing there. And in that discovery, the mind begins to soften, not because it has been controlled, but because it is no longer the center of your attention. 6. When you stop following the voice, it begins to fade. There is a quiet shift that begins to happen when you no longer follow every thought. At first, it may feel unfamiliar. You notice the voice starting to pull you into a story, perhaps about something that happened earlier, or something you are worried might happen later. Normally, this is where attention is captured. The story builds, emotions follow, and before you realize it, you are no longer here. But now, something is different. You see the thought arise, and instead of continuing it, you pause, not by force, not by resisting, but by simply not moving in the same direction as before. The voice might say something like, "You should figure this out," or "What if this goes wrong?" And for a moment, it feels convincing, just like it always has. But instead of answering it, instead of engaging, you let it pass. And in that small moment of non-participation, you begin to understand something directly. The voice depends on your involvement. Without your attention, it cannot sustain itself in the same way. It may still appear, but it loses its momentum. It becomes shorter, lighter, less persuasive. This is not because you have defeated the mind, it is because you are no longer reinforcing its patterns. Every time you follow a thought, especially one driven by worry or judgment, you strengthen the habit of thinking. You signal to the mind that this is important, that it should continue. But every time you observe a thought without continuing it, you interrupt that habit. You create a new pattern, one of awareness instead of reaction. This is where real change begins, not in controlling what thoughts appear, but in changing how you relate to them. And over time, something very natural begins to happen. The voice starts to quiet down, not completely and not all at once, but gradually. You may notice longer spaces between thoughts. You may notice that certain worries no longer repeat as often. You may notice that when the voice does speak, it feels less intense. This is the mind adjusting to a new way of being. It is learning that it no longer needs to fill every moment, that it is safe to be quiet. And this quiet is not empty in a negative way. It is calm, steady, and deeply grounding. You begin to experience moments where nothing is missing, where you are simply present, without needing to think about it. And in these moments, something becomes clear. You are not losing anything by letting go of the voice. You are gaining clarity. You are gaining space. You are gaining a deeper connection to life as it actually is. This is what it means to live in the present, not as an idea, but as a direct experience. And the more you rest in this experience, the less power the voice has to pull you away from it. 7. Living in the present becomes your natural state. At the beginning, being present feels like something you have to remember. You catch yourself lost in thought, and you gently return, again and again. There is effort in this stage, not forceful effort, but a kind of intentional awareness. But over time, something begins to change. Presence becomes more familiar than distraction. You begin to notice when your attention drifts almost immediately. You begin to feel the difference between being lost in thought and being here. And more often than not, you choose to remain here. Not because you are trying to be disciplined, but because it feels more natural. The present moment starts to feel like home. And with that shift, the voice in your head loses its central role. It still appears when needed. It can still help you plan, reflect, or communicate, but it is no longer constant. It no longer dominates your experience. It becomes a tool again, instead of the one in control. This is what many Buddhist teachings point toward. Not the elimination of thought, but the end of identification with it. You are no longer defined by what the mind says. You are no longer pulled into every story it creates. Instead, you rest in a deeper awareness, one that is steady, quiet, and always available. And from this place, life begins to feel different. Simple moments become more vivid. You notice things you used to overlook. There is a sense of ease even when situations are not perfect, because your experience is no longer filtered through constant commentary. You are meeting life directly, and perhaps most importantly, you begin to trust this state. At first, the mind may have told you that without constant thinking, you would miss something important, that you would be unprepared or less capable. But now you see that the opposite is true. When the mind is quiet, your perception is clearer. Your responses are more natural. Your actions come from understanding, not from fear. There is an intelligence in presence that does not need words, and this intelligence guides you more effectively than constant analysis ever could. So the voice fades into the background, not because it was silenced, but because it is no longer needed in every moment. And what remains is something simple, but deeply meaningful. A quiet awareness, a steady presence, a sense of being fully here. This is not something you have to achieve. It is something you return to, again and again, until returning is no longer necessary, because you never really left. The silence you are searching for is not somewhere far away. It is already here, beneath the constant movement of thought. Each time you return to the present, even for a moment, you reconnect with that quiet space within you. And over time, that space becomes your home. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing to Mindfulness for more teachings on presence, inner peace, and Buddhist wisdom. Your awareness begins there,